Who is a bigger communist? Donald Trump, Narendra Modi, or Mamdani? Now you must be wondering whether I have lost my mind. I will discuss the policies of Mamdani, of the proposed policies of Mamdani, the actually executed real policies of Narendra Modi, and the real policies of Donald Trump. And then you can be the judge as to who is the bigger communist and answer that question in the comment section. I look forward to your answers and analysis. I guarantee you that you will be stunned by your own answer. Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtada Khan, your host, and today I'm going to talk to you about a very interesting topic. President Donald Trump has accused Zohran Mamdani, who's running for mayor. He won the Democratic primary for mayor of New York. And since New York is so heavily Democratic, the general assumption is that he should win the main election easily and become the mayor of New York, inshallah. But it has kind of created an uproar among the Republicans who are accusing Zohran Mamdani of being a socialist, because he says he's a socialist, he says he's a social democrat. And Donald Trump has accused him of being a communist. And that's what most of the right-wing media is accusing him of, and saying that New York is like the capital of capitalism. So how can we have a communist as the mayor of New York? It will completely destroy New York and also the US. But they're also delighted that if Zohran Mamdani's image as a communist sticks to the Democratic Party and say the future of the Democratic Party is communism, then perhaps that will do a significant damage to the Democratic Party in the midterm elections and going forward. Whereas the Democrats, who are basically, in order to be an elected person in New York, whether you are a mayor of New York or a senator from the state of New York or a congressman from any of the constituencies in New York, you have only two purposes in life. One is to defend Israel, to promote Israel, to send money to Israel, to send weapons to Israel. And the other goal is to try and facilitate the elimination of all Palestinians. So that is the only goal of elected people from New York and most of the Democratic Party these days. So they are horrified that Mamdani stands up for Palestinian rights. And he has even threatened to arrest Bibi Netanyahu if he comes to New York, because International Criminal Court has issued a warrant for Netanyahu. So the Democrats are paranoid that Mamdani is not as pro-Israel as every American elected official has to be. They don't care if you're not pro-America, but you have to be pro-Israel, if you are in the Congress or in the Senate. And in fact, Schumer, the senator from New York, who's also the Democratic leader in the Senate, actually said that his job is to ensure that the left is pro-Israel. So basically, everybody is going after Mamdani. But I want to talk about this issue of whether Zohran Mamdani is a communist. In fact, what I want to do is this. Who is a bigger communist? Donald Trump, Narendra Modi, or Mamdani? I actually want to try and answer this question. Who is a bigger communist? Donald Trump, Narendra Modi, or Mamdani? Now you must be wondering whether I have lost my mind by accusing both Narendra Modi as well as Donald Trump of being a communist, because they are such right-wing, even to some extent populist, dictatorial leaders. So how can they be communists? So let me start by saying, let's look at what these ideas or these concepts are. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to define these three things: communism, socialism, and social democrats very quickly, very briefly, in less than 2 minutes. And then I will discuss the policies of Mamdani, of the proposed policies of Mamdani, the actually executed real policies of Narendra Modi, and the real policies of Donald Trump. And then you can be the judge as to who is the bigger communist? And answer that question in the comment section. And I look forward to your answers and analysis. I guarantee you that you will be stunned by your own answer. That is if you look at the definitions and look at the data. But if you don't want to look at the data, if you don't want facts to bother you, then I cannot help you. So first, let's look at this beautiful infographic that was generated for me by Grok. So communism is basically, actually, you will realize that neither Trump nor Mamdani nor Modi is a communist. Communists believe in no private property at all. And Donald Trump is a billionaire who believes in his own private property. In fact, he's into real estate, which is all about private property. And of course, Modi believes in the private properties of Adani, at least of Adani and others. So we can clearly say that neither of them are communists, and neither is Mamdani, because he's not trying to eliminate private property ownership. He does not believe in complete control of production by the state, even though you'll be surprised as to extent to which in India, the entire Narendra Modi's Atmanirbhar policy is based on state production. This whole talk of the next fifth generation fighter jet from India is going to be produced by what? A state-owned company called Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. And they have centrally planned economy. The US does not have central planned economies. The US does not eliminate social class, neither does India. India does not even eliminate social class or even caste. And there is no single party governance, at least in the US. India could get there at some point because the BJP is capturing all state institutions like the judiciary, the election commission, etc. But nevertheless, they don't even have a majority in the parliament at the moment. So there is no single party rule in any of the states. So we can simply exclude communism. Nobody is a communist. I'm sure you're delighted by that. So what is socialism? Socialism is a kind of a mixture of market economies. You could say that there is some private property is allowed, so private businesses are allowed, but there is a lot more of central planning of the economy. All the big businesses are controlled by the government. So what India was under Congress before 1991, you could say, was a socialist state where there is democratic governance, but there is largely centralized planning. There is some private property, but all the main industries are owned by the state. So a huge public sector and a small private sector. That is what you would say is a socialism. So where does Mamdani fit into all of this? And where do Trump and to some extent Modi fit in? We can say that none of them are communists. And maybe Mamdani is a socialist, but let's look at this concept of social democracy. Now, this is an interesting innovation in political thought. So, social democracy is a political system in which private ownership is allowed, free market is allowed. That's not allowed in communist or socialist societies, but you have a robust welfare state. That's the biggest difference. You have a free market, you have private ownership, but you also have a robust welfare state which taxes the rich and distributes wealth among the poor. So they provide healthcare, they provide education, they provide security, they provide a welfare safety net, etc. So social democracy is that system where you allow private property, you allow private enterprise, you allow free economics, free market economics, etc. You allow people to become billionaires, but you tax them. And so you distribute the wealth towards the South. And I think all three of them are social democrats, Donald Trump, Mamdani, as well as Modi. Now the question is, which one of them is a bigger one? So first of all, straight up, you must keep this in mind, that Mamdani has never governed. He's never become an executive anywhere. Donald Trump is in his second term, and so he has a record of policies that we can look at. And Narendra Modi is in his third term, so we also have a record of his policies. As far as Mamdani is concerned, all we have is his aspirations and his dreams. And if you notice that even his dreams are smaller than the realities of Modi and Trump. Let me say that again. Mamdani's dreams, Mamdani's socialist dreams are smaller and more modest than the reality of Modi and Trump. And let me show that to you, because by now you're shocked and you're thinking I've gone crazy. So this is the policy aspirations of Zohran Mamdani if he becomes the mayor of New York, inshallah. He wants to stabilize rent. He wants to make sure that rent does not go up. Cost of living in New York has gone through the roof. So he just wants to control rent. Number two, he wants to create affordable housing. He's trying to hope to build actually 200,000 new apartments, which will not be too expensive to buy or to rent. So he will probably be using government money raised from higher taxes. He wants to raise taxes to about 11%, and then he will create this. The third thing he wants to do is free public transport, free buses, free fast buses in the city of New York. The fourth thing that he wants to do is he wants to have state-owned grocery stores, and not all over the city, especially in what are called as food deserts, those neighborhoods where there are no grocery stores. So you actually have to take a bus, pay for the bus, and go to another neighborhood to buy food. So thereby you are increasing the cost. It's like inflation. But if the bus was free, you would still be spending time. So there is still inflation. So if there's a neighborhood grocery store, which may not be very profitable, so there's no private incentive to start one, so the government will establish a grocery store. And then he wants to provide free childcare and education so that women can go to work. And finally, he wants to increase minimum wage to $30. This is long overdue. So these are the six policies that Zohran Mamdani is advocating. It is because of this that Donald Trump has accused him of being a communist, and they're coming after him. And of course, the Democrats are just as sold out to rich billionaires. But the Democrats mostly are against him, not because of his economic policies. They have also abandoned the working class. If you remember, in the 2024 election, Donald Trump won more of the working class than the Democrats, because Donald Trump was the bigger communist, bigger socialist, bigger social democrat than the Democrats themselves. That's why the working class voters voted for Donald Trump. Anyway, let's look at what are Donald Trump's policies, and then I will look at the policies by Indian Prime Minister Modi. So Donald Trump, first thing you must realize that this whole business of steel and aluminum tariffs that he imposed in 2018, these are socialist policies. Tariffs, protection of the economy are antithetical to free market economics. All these Republicans who keep talking about we believe in capitalism, capitalism is not about tariffs. It's not about protecting economy. It's about free market economics. So all the tariffs that he imposed in his first presidency are counter to the idea of capitalism. They are the policies of a socialist government, not even a social democrat. A social democrat is more interested in distributing wealth. But this is a socialist policy where the state wants to control the trade and wants to actually profit from that trade. He gave $28 billion in subsidies to farmers through USDA. Donald Trump gave a subsidy of $28 billion to farmers because they were being impacted by policies from China. $28 billion of financial transfer. This is so much more than what Mamdani is trying to say. Mamdani is saying that there are some poor people who cannot afford to buy expensive food. So I'm going to have state-funded food places, grocery stores in their neighborhoods. He's doing the same thing that Donald Trump did, which is subsidize farmers. And Donald Trump spent $28 billion for farmer subsidy. And then Donald Trump, during the COVID period, he used the Defense Production Act to produce all that is necessary. It was, why didn't he wait for the market to do that? Free market, because they were making profits. They could have produced all the stuff, but no, he had to go and get into production. Not only that, Donald Trump also helped with this huge COVID relief called the CARES Act in 2020. And it was $2.2 trillion stimulus package. He sent direct checks of, I think, $1,200. I'm not fully clear, but he also expanded unemployment of $600 per week. He also gave paycheck protection program. All of these that Biden then continued subsequently. So a lot of people got a lot of money, state cash transfers. I got a check from the government of the US signed by Donald Trump. And I'm not a poor person, alhamdulillah. I'm not a rich person. I'm not in the middle class, but I think I'm in the top 30% in this country, both in income and wealth. And so even I got a check, which was kind of pointless, actually. That money would have been better used if they sent it to people who are in the bottom 25% or bottom 50%. So Donald Trump has spent these billions of dollars to subsidize farmers and to subsidize people who are suffering from pandemics, etc. But not only that, he has done something incredibly new in this new term. He has now subsidized Intel, a private company, and now the US government is the biggest individual shareholder of Intel, a company. The US government is controlling the mode of production of chips in the United States. So let me put it away. The US now owns the mode of production, a so-called capitalist state that owns. It's like Intel is now a public sector company if you add up banks, loans, and what the US government owns. Not only that, he's come up with a new form of socialist and communist policies where he's letting NVIDIA sell chips to China and is taking profits up to 15% from NVIDIA for selling chips in China. So the government is renting licenses, you could say. So in this second term, Donald Trump has actually ventured into policies which a capitalist state would not ever do. In fact, I was listening to Fox News. These days I have to listen to Fox News to try to at least understand what Donald Trump is doing. And to my amusement, they are totally flummoxed. They don't know what to say because they can clearly see this is socialism or this is socialist state policies. When we teach modernization and development of countries and how the developing countries are working, we talk about policies such as import substitution and tariffs, etc. It's for protecting domestic markets and domestic production. That is what Donald Trump is doing. He has become completely antithetical to the communist form of organizing global trade, which is free markets. He is the tariff president of America. And these are policies which are implemented already. These are not aspirational like Mamdani's. Mamdani is dreaming. This is reality. And let's look at Prime Minister Modi. Okay, Modi is such a big communist, it's unbelievable. So I'm going to just show you some of the policies, read them fast, otherwise this show will continue endlessly. Okay, so these are some of the policies of Prime Minister Modi, who's culturally right-winger, but economically a left-winger. Okay, all his anti-Muslim hatred, that is his right-wing policies, culturally. Promoting Hindu nationalism and all of that. But economically, he's a left. So in India, all this using the word communist or socialist as if it's a dirty word, like in the US, is misplaced because the Prime Minister of India is quite a big socialist. So he has something called Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan. He provides 5 kilos of free food grains to 80 crore people every month, costing billions and billions of dollars, 11.8 lakh crore rupees. It's a huge state-funded welfare program providing 5 kilograms of free food every month to 80 crore people, which is 800 million people. So let me put it to you. Narendra Modi sends free ration to 2 Europes every month. You tell me that is capitalism? That's not communism, but that's definitely socialism. And because it's a democracy, we can say he's a social democrat. One day, Mamdani may dream and become a social democrat as effective as Narendra Modi. Then there is something called Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman. He transfers 6,000 rupees annually to over 110 million small farmers. It makes Donald Trump's subsidy look pathetic, even though in his $28 billion subsidy to the farmers is bigger in size, but that was a one-shot thing for Trump. But Modi sends annually 6,000 rupees to 110 million small farmers since 2019. Then they have something called Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. He offers free gas, LPG connections to 100 million women in India. 100 million women get free gas cylinders to cook. Then there's something called Pradhan Mantri Vandana Yojana, whatever it is. So you can see it just goes on and on. Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti, Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima, Pradhan Mantri Avas Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Vaya Vandana, National Pension Scheme for traders and self. It's like every sector, like India seems to be composed of only vulnerable communities who will not survive if the state does not support them. It's stunning. In fact, there's this guy, I don't know what his name is, Shehzad Poonawala. He wrote this article for Times of India. Modi's 9 schemes that have made him the champion of the poor. Since when do leaders of capitalist societies become champions of the poor? And he lists 9 policies, which I'm not going to go into detail. That's not the point. The point I'm just trying to impress is that he's a gigantic socialist. Modi is the biggest socialist on planet Earth. And the 9 schemes that, what is Sajjad, what is this guy's name is? Yeah, Shehzad Poonawala points out are Har Ghar Jal, Har Ghar Shauchalaya, toilets in every home, water in every home, Har Ghar Bijli, electricity in every home, Har Ghar Gas, Har Ghar Ration, Har Ghar Bank Account, Har Ghar Swastha, Har Ghar Tika, Har Ghar Pakka Ghar. So these are all welfare schemes where they clearly involve distribution of wealth. Even the states, even other policies, every political party now in India, they call it revadis in India, or they have another special direct benefit transfer, DBTs. So Modi's innovation is that he has created bank accounts for everybody, and there is a direct financial transfer. In the past, such schemes would come through bureaucracies, and there would be a lot of corruption, and a lot of these bureaucrats would steal much of the money, so it would not reach the ultimate beneficiary. But here, people are getting direct funds transferred into their bank accounts. If this is not socialism, what is? So I submit to you that Mamdani just dreams of being a socialist. He's an aspirational socialist. But Trump and Modi are genuine social democrats in some extent. Yes, they may be capitalists. He has crony capitalism in India, where he tries to support his own friendly businessmen, especially from Gujarat. Ambani has made billions during the oil policy of India, and Adani, wherever Modi goes, he promotes Adani. So whether it's in Israel or Sri Lanka or Bangladesh, Modi is constantly championing for Adani. But that's a small bunch of capitalists, a small bunch of people who are making money and probably funneling money back to his political party. But billions of people are benefiting from these policies. I don't know how effective those policies are, but they are on record. So this is my answer to the question, who is the biggest communist? Nobody. Who is the biggest socialist? Actually, there is no socialist also. To some extent, India may qualify as still a socialist country. But who is the biggest social democrat in the world? It's Modi, followed by Trump. And then a wannabe social democrat, that is Mamdani. Thank you for watching Conversations. Please like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share this video with your socio-political network. Until next time, I'm your host, Muqtada Khan. Take care. Bye.